A very good afternoon to all my viewers. This is Abhishek Chatterjee, a student of first semester B.ED from Ramakrishna Mission Shikshana Mandira, Belurmat. Now, in this short lecture of mine, I'll try to explain a short part of a particular unit from Psychology of Teaching first half. My main motive of this short video will be to make everybody understand the maxims or the principles of teaching. So I'm starting my video. Now at first we have to know, okay, let me start the slideshow first. Now what is the concept of teaching? Now, before entering to our main topic of discussion, it is very important to know that what is the meaning of this teaching. Now, there are many definitions of many big faculties. I have jotted down some of the very famous definitions. Now, teaching is the process of imparting knowledge, skills, and value to others. We all know that teaching is the main motive of teaching is to impart knowledge to our students, to give the knowledge which we have in a particular discipline to the students belonging to that discipline. It involves sharing of information and ideas to facilitate learning and understanding. Teaching involves the sharing of information and ideas to facilitate learning and understanding. Now, what is the meaning of this learning and understanding? Suppose, just like today's demo lecture, I am giving a lecture on on principles of teaching or maxims of teaching. So I'll facilitate my students so that they can learn and they can understand what are the main motives or what are the main principles of teaching. So few definitions of the concept of teaching are jotted down here. I hope if the reader reads this definition part, then it will be very clear to them. So I am moving to the next slide. Now, factors affecting teachers. Firstly, knowledge of the subject matter. The thing is, this thing should be very clear, that the subject matter should be very clear to the teacher who is teaching. For example, my principal subject of teaching is commerce. So if I don't have a clear knowledge of commerce, then I cannot share my knowledge, then I cannot make my students knowledgeable about the subject. Next, we are coming to knowledge of the learners. Now, after knowledge of the subject matter, it is very important for a teacher to know what is the knowledge of the learner. That is, if we take a very small and very simple example, suppose the students of mine know the A, B, C, D of commerce. That is, they know the very basic parts of commerce, or they know the very basic parts of psychology of teaching. So as a efficient teacher, my responsibility will be to let them know, to give them the knowledge beyond the part, the knowledge already the learner have. Moving to the next factors, that is teaching skills. Now, this is also a very important factor. If the teacher lacks in teaching skills, then the class will be very much boring. The students will not able to understand the crux of that very subject. Moving to the next slide. Educational qualification. Now, this can be a matter of discussion, a very broad discussion to many of my listeners. Some may think that no, a very simple graduation degree can give a teacher to the society. Many may think that a master degree will give a very good teacher to the society. Many can think PhD and many more. But yes, the educational qualification of every teaching, particularly to the subject the teacher is teaching, is very much needed to give quality content, to give quality lecture to his or her students. Next, experience. It is quite obvious that the more expected a teacher is, the better, experience a teacher is, the better will be the deliverables. It is very clear from this particular point that if the experience of the teacher is not so good, then he may not provide deliverables to the students. Now this may be depend on person to person. Now moving to the next slide, the main portion of our topic is maxims or principles of teaching. First is from known to unknown. Now a particular teacher or a good teacher will help his or her students to know from known to unknown. Known thing, if the teacher teaches the known thing to his or her students, then that will be of no use. The originality of the teaching will obviously lie if the teaching can impart some unknown knowledges of the subject matter to his or her students. Next is simple to complex. Now it is very obvious that the students can understand simple things by their own, but they will face problem while reading complex problems. For example, I am just taking an example from my own subject, commerce. Now if a simple thing, just the very basic things of commerce, the students, if they read from a particular book, they will be easily able to understand the simple things. But the complex things, that are the different kind of models, the different kind of laws, rules and regulation of maintaining accounts, if the teacher is not so efficient, then the students will face problem from learning complex knowledges. Next we come on to concrete to abstract. Now after, it is a responsibility of the teacher to first build the concrete knowledge. That is, if we build a house, then we have to build the base first. Why? Because that is the concrete of that particular house, and then we can move forward to build the other stories of the house. So the teacher has to first deliver the concrete knowledge to the students, and then he or she will be able to learn the abstract knowledges. Moving to the next slide, from particular to general, it is a responsibility of the teacher that a particular instance or scenario must be taken into account while explaining the concept, and then the students can be asked to generalize the same. First, the concept should be taught by the teacher, and then only the students can generalize that particular concept to a broader aspect. Next point, from whole to part. The teacher must try and introduce the students to the whole lesson first, and then move to the intricacies of it. The crux of the lesson must be discussed first, and then the lesson can be taught in parts. It is very obvious that the teacher first has to give a brief introduction on the suppose I am teaching chapter 1 today. So the teacher has to give an introduction of the whole chapter 1. What is inside the chapter, what are the merits, what are the demerits, what are the important parts, what are the disimportant parts, and what are the crux of studying those chapters in the introduction part. So from the whole to the part, after giving the introduction, the teacher can divide the chapter into different parts and then can impart the knowledges to the students. Moving to my next slide, from physiological to logical. One of the things that teachers should always keep in mind is the capacity and interest and abilities of their students. The concept must be taken across by keeping these things in forefront. At least during the early stages of learning, the logical part is the evaluation, assessment, and likewise that the teacher has to do. This is a student-centered maxim and is applicable to younger kids. From psychological to logical. First, the teacher has to give the psychological knowledge to the learners, and after making it sure that the psychological knowledge is being verily cleared by every learner, then the teacher can teach the logical part. And the same goes from induction to deduction, from smaller part to larger part, and from empirical to rational. Now, just drawing the conclusion line. Now, after concluding this project, all the trainee teachers will get an effective knowledge about this part of the syllabus. Teaching is not only a work to impart knowledge among the students, but it is an art. It is not just about delivering a lecture in a class full of students, but it is on one hand a profession, and on the other hand, it is performing arts like a drama. Every teacher is responsible to perform a drama like environment, a drama like structure in their class. Teaching is not only a part of teaching, but teaching should be like of imparting true knowledge to their students. I hope this lecture is not so boring to my listeners. I have tried very hard to deliver the content as much as possible, and I hope everybody will has enjoyed my lecture. So thank you very much.